Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Shelly here and welcome back to my channel. What a Guam Bombshell Squad. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Shelly. What you can expect from my channel is a lot. I absolutely love makeup. Sometimes you'll get a makeup tutorial here and there. I also have a cosmetic company, Happiness Cosmetics. That's my baby. I'm also a lover of home decor, of a clean and organized space. I am very anal when it comes to my living space, like where I live, how I keep my space. I love just to keep my space nice, clean, and tidy. Kind of also like for my home to look like a canvas. Nobody lives there. It's just like a showroom. I just try to keep my space clean and tidy, so that's what you can expect from my channel. If you are new here, I also love to vlog sometimes, but that's pretty much what you can expect from my channel. And also, most importantly, I'm a lover of Christ. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I love God, and I just love the joy, peace, happiness, and just everything that he brings to my life. Yeah, that is pretty much it. So what I want to talk about today is 10 things that I absolutely love with my transition from New York to Texas. So if you've been following me for a while, or if you've just recently stumbled upon any of my videos, maybe some of my shorts, you would know that I recently moved. And I'm saying recently, but in a few days, probably in about the next 2 weeks, it's gonna be 1 year since I've transitioned from the north to the south. And I must say that it is one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my entire life. I absolutely love it here. I feel so much at peace. I feel so happy. And I want to share with you guys 10 reasons why you need to move to the south, aka why you need to move to Texas if you don't already live here. So let's go ahead and get started. I started to jot down my notes, but I didn't finish. So I'm just kind of gonna wing it because I don't have everything in my notes here. So if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at my phone. But I just feel like I see a lot of things going on social media, and I've seen a lot of things also when I did my research. And I touched on this topic just a little bit when I did my moving video, but I want to touch on it again and just tell you guys 10 things why I absolutely love Texas versus New York. If you guys hear a lot of background noise, I live right by the highway. You could step out my door and step on the highway. That's how close I am to the highway. And there's a lot of highways in Texas, so most of the time you always hear some kind of like driving or background noise. But if you hear a little bit of noise, I tried to fix it in my last video, but I noticed I still could hear it, and I hate that. There's literally nothing that I could do about it. I could probably film in my bathroom where you wouldn't hear that much noise, but I like using natural daylight, which that's what I'm using right now. So that's why I would rather film here versus in there, because the lighting is way much better. Okay, so starting off, the first reason why you should move to Texas, why I love Texas versus New York, is housing. Oh my God. I'm currently renting where I live, and New York compared to Texas is a whole completely different ball game. Now, is Texas cheaper than New York? In some senses, no. I'm going to say no, and it also depends on the area that you decide to live. It could be a lot cheaper, but it's a way much better way of living, if you know what I'm saying. So based on, and this is just my experience that I'm talking about, I'm not talking about any other experience that anyone else had. First of all, New York now, because the city is so overcrowded and so packed, people that live in Texas say Texas is packed, but it's nothing compared to New York. Nothing at all. In New York, a one bedroom now, a decent one bedroom that's literally like 300 square feet is like $2,000. That's what you're getting in New York. In Texas, in where I live in my apartment, my rent is $2,500, just being a little bit transparent here. And sometimes, you know, people don't like to put their business out there, but I'm just gonna, you know, put it out there just for the video. My rent is $2,500, probably a little bit less depending on how I control certain things, because I kind of control a little bit of how my rent just fluctuates a couple dollars within everything that's included in my rent. But in New York, the apartment that I have living in New York versus living in Texas, It does not exist. It doesn't exist at all. And when I came to Texas and I was like doing my research and looking for places, I went to so many different places, and I'm just gonna make it very clear because I don't want to mislead anyone. From my experiences, the prices are not cheaper. You're just getting a way much better value for your buck. I'm talking about space. I'm talking about parking. When it comes to having a washer and dryer inside your unit, now they're upgrading a lot of different apartments in New York, and they're including washer and dryers in those units. But you're not paying to have a washer and dryer in your unit. You're not paying nothing less than probably 3 to 4 grand. I lived in New York for I think 13 going on 14 years before I moved to Texas, probably around 13 years. And I've never had a washer and dryer in any of the places that I've lived, ever. I've always had to pack up my clothes, bags and bags and bags, and haul them to the laundromat and then bring them back home. And that's one thing that I hated. Another thing in New York when it comes to housing is parking. There's never anywhere to park. It doesn't matter if you live in the worst neighborhoods or the best neighborhoods, there's never anywhere to park. People that live in the city that is paying $5,000 a month for rent, some of them are paying more. The buildings that they live in and pay so much for rent doesn't even provide a parking garage for them to park for free. If there's like a parking garage attached to the apartment, they have to pay for a parking space separately. Like, there's not really places in Texas, well, not that I've experienced or that I went to, that I saw that, oh, the parking has a different price and you have to pay for parking. No, the building comes with the parking and you get to come in and park your car there for free. Parking is not an issue in Texas. Like, unless you go probably maybe somewhere downtown or in the city at certain times, you might have a slight issue with parking, or you're into the nightlife and you want to go clubbing, and a lot of places that, you know, doesn't allow you to like park on the street. Parking, other than that, parking is not an issue. My next favorite thing is accessibility to literally almost everything. When I say almost everything, I mean like fast food restaurants, like all the things that I used to struggle with in New York, I no longer have that struggle. For example, 2 places that I love to go that I always had an issue with for the most part in New York is Walmart and IKEA. I'm not even gonna put like my local grocery stores or pharmacies or anywhere of that sort in there, because for the most part those were pretty decent. But for the most part in New York, going to IKEA and going to Walmart, this is if this is your preference, if you like to shop in these places. Even going to Target sometimes can be a hassle. I feel like IKEA, there's one IKEA in Brooklyn. How as big as Brooklyn is, there's one IKEA there. The next closest IKEA to that one is probably like 50 miles all the way out in Long Island. They're so far apart, it doesn't make any sense. But I understand because IKEA is a much larger store. IKEA to some people is like their grocery store. Like, there's people that just love to go to IKEA and would go to IKEA every week for certain necessities other than like furniture. You know what I'm saying? So just having certain things that you love being more accessible, that's another thing that I like more about Texas. Everything is in close proximity, it's in close range, and that could also be where I live per se. But everywhere I go, like in every little city, every little town, there's so much shopping areas. You can never run out of shopping areas. I'm a more type of hands-on girly. Like, I love to actually go shopping, look at things, feel them, see the quality, compare prices and stuff like that. So for me, I love to go to Marshall's, Burlington, TJ Maxx, a whole bunch of different places, Home Goods. I just love to shop in those stores, and especially being, you know, someone that is really into home decor at the moment. I just feel like every time when I want to go shopping or just everywhere I go, those stores are just always around. The next thing that I absolutely love about Texas, which is, I think I'm on my 3rd thing, right? The size of everything. I hated the fact of just everything feeling so small and feeling so clustered. And I wasn't born and raised in New York. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and where I lived, in all the places that I've lived, I've never really lived in any place that was like tiny, small. So I wasn't necessarily raised that way to, I'm so accustomed to things small that it doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? Back in Jamaica, back home when I was growing up, everywhere I lived, we've always had space. Now, we didn't have like, you know, a big plantation, but we had space to where we were comfortable. I feel like in New York, I was never comfortable. Everything is just so crammed. Everything is so small, you know, and it's just always annoying. Like, and a lot of times people don't realize a lot of that stuff could take a toll on your mental health, and for me it definitely did. Everything was just so small. One thing that bothered me is in my house where I live, let's say for instance the bathroom. Now, we had one bathroom which we had to share, and that wasn't a big issue. Sometimes, you know, people are in the bathroom and you want to use the bathroom. That wasn't like my biggest issue. My biggest issue was just how freaking tiny the bathroom was. Two people couldn't be in the bathroom and it didn't feel crammed. You know what I'm saying? So the bathroom was just so tiny. Like, everything is just so tiny. Even, let's say, one thing that bothered me space-wise is when I used to park in New York, like parking in New York on the blocks, you're squeezing your car in such a tiny space, and almost everyone in New York have a scratchy bumper. It's like a thing. It's like a thing, and everyone is just so accustomed to it. It doesn't really bother a lot of people anymore because the parking spaces are so tight. You literally have to take 20 minutes to squeeze yourself in there, and by the time you get in there, your bumper is sitting on the next person's fender. Like, it's just so, this just, so many things about that city annoyed me. That city can be a blessing and it could be a curse. If you are not in a financial situation where you can manage living decent in New York, it could drive you insane. Now, everyone have their own preference of where they like to live, how they like to live. Some people don't mind having smaller things. Some people can't stand it. Some people don't mind the parking. Some people don't mind, you know, being on a crammed train. I work for JCPenney. That was my first job when I migrated to the States, and I worked for JCPenney for 12 years. I was in Manhattan for 8 years of the 12 years that I worked for JCPenney. But my 8 years being in the city working for JCPenney, when it comes to rush hour, trust me, if you're on the train, you're breathing everyone else's air. There's no air that you have for yourself because the trains are so packed. Like, you're standing next to somebody and they're literally rubbing everything on you because the trains are so tight. I don't think there's any way to fix it, but people just got to move out of the city, like out of the state. It's just way too crammed. Like, it's always so tight. And I hear people talk about like the Texas traffic all the time. There's traffic everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, there's gonna be traffic, and it's gonna be heavy traffic. And especially if you work in A and then you live all the way in Z, of course you're gonna run into a lot of traffic and it's gonna take you a long time. But it doesn't matter where you go. The reason why traffic is everywhere is because we all pretty much travel at the same time. That's why there's so much traffic. When we're going to work in the morning, we're all going to work. So of course there's going to be a lot of traffic. When we get off at 5 o'clock, everybody gets off between 3:30 and 6. So we're all on the road at the same time. On where I experience a lot of traffic sometimes is on Sundays when I'm going to church. A lot of people like to transport back and forth, move around on Sundays. So of course there's going to be a lot of traffic. But was the traffic any less in New York? No, it was not. When I was going to work, you got to give yourself a certain amount of time to get to where you gotta be, because once it hits 6:30 on that belt, it's a wrap. And if you're traveling from Brooklyn all the way to Long Island in New York, forget it. Like, you're sitting in traffic all day long. And in New York, the rate of accident is like there's an accident every 5 seconds. So let there be an accident on the belt, it's a wrap. The highways could be shut down because of how bad an accident could be. So when it comes to the traffic in Texas, there's traffic everywhere. There's a period of time when I was driving Uber, and I did Uber for a little bit, and when I was driving Uber, if I picked up someone going into the city, I remember one day I picked up a passenger. It was probably around 7 o'clock, 7:30, and I picked them up in the heart of Brooklyn, and they were going all the way uptown in Manhattan. And let me tell you, to drive maybe 12 miles, 15 miles, it took me almost an hour and a half. That's how bad the traffic can get driving from Brooklyn into the city. Plus, one thing that I've noticed with most of the apartments that I looked at when I was doing my research for Texas was that if it's a 2-bedroom, there's at least 2 bathrooms. For the most part, on the places where I looked, I'm not saying everywhere is the same, but for all the places that I was looking at 2 bedrooms minimum, all the places that I looked at, the 2 bedrooms had 2 bathrooms. It was like the master bedroom had the bathroom inside, and then the other secondary bedroom had the bathroom either inside or it was outside in the apartment. But for the most part, everywhere had at least 2 bathrooms. So are you gonna get 2 bathrooms in New York? Hell no. Even 3 bedrooms in New York, you're getting 1 little tiny bathroom. And a lot of times the 3 bedrooms are not even supposed to be 3 bedrooms. They're actually 2 bedrooms. But because a lot of the landlords are greedy, they cut the apartments from a 2-bedroom and make it into a 3-bedroom to collect more money. So that's another thing that I absolutely hated about living in New York. Everything is just so small, so crammed, and the things that landlords get away with in New York is absolutely mind-blowing. I just can't stand it. Okay, so the next thing that I'm gonna talk about is definitely for me, okay? This is definitely not for everybody. This is only for the people who like the weather warm, nice, and toasty. My 4th thing that I absolutely admire about Texas is the weather. Yes, I absolutely love the weather. Like I said, I was born and raised in Jamaica. I'm an island gal, okay? So do I like heat? Yes. Do I like when it's sunny all the time? Yes. Do I mind the humidity? No, I don't. I would rather it be hot than it be freezing cold, and I cannot go outside. I really don't like the cold. I hate the cold. I hate when it's gloomy. I hate when it's dark. I don't like it at all. So to have nice sunny weather for the most part, absolutely love that. Certain parts of Texas have been getting like colder weathers and hail, and I think there's something going on right now even in Dallas, but I'm not in Dallas. I live in Houston, and for the most part, Houston weather has been great. We have had a few days where it went in the 40s and it was a little bit chilly, but we didn't mind that at all, just having a little bit of that cold weather, a little bit of that breeze. Weather could be 40 degrees today and 78 degrees the next day. So I don't mind the weather at all. I think right now the temperature is actually nice. It's 64 degrees, and look at that. All week we're getting good weather. So if you're a person that loves warm weather, this is for you. If you like it to be nice and hot and toasty, this is for you. If you don't mind the days that we have humidity in the summertime, this is for you. And a lot of people complain about the humidity and the heat and all that stuff during the summer months, but you don't even spend that much time outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part, you're indoors, you have your air condition, you have your AC, and whenever it's cold, if my legs get cold, they hurt really bad. I have a lot of pain. I had a lot of pain in my legs when they got cold, and I feel like that was due to probably me developing arthritis or getting arthritis, or I don't even know how arthritis works, but the only thing I know is that whenever it gets cold, inside of my legs, like in the middle, like where the bone is, it literally feels like something is eating at it, and I hated that whenever it got cold. It got cold so bad one time, and my legs got so cold to the point where they hurt, and I was literally in tears. That's how bad my legs were hurting. So Houston heat, definitely for me. Okay, I absolutely love the heat. It doesn't bother me at all, and it's not for everybody, but it's definitely for me. Oh my God, I think we're at 6. I hope we're at 6. The food here, stop. Okay, just stop. When I tell you the food is unlimited, it makes no sense. The amount of restaurants, the amount of different options, the food is just insane. It don't make no sense. I was so close last year to my goal of just losing weight and getting fit and looking better and just being at a better place with my body and with my health. But the food here, it could be a crutch and you just want to lean on it all the time. The food here is absolutely wild. You could never run out of ideas on like food to eat. There's food everywhere, all kinds of food, all types of food. It's literally everywhere. The only thing that I think I'm missing here in Texas is a very, very good Jamaican restaurant. Haven't found that yet. And I know there's some Jamaican restaurants here that are hidden. I need to find somewhere where I could go and buy a patty. Okay, I need to find somewhere where I can go and get some oxtail and rice and peas that they're not gonna charge me $60 for. So I need a good Jamaican restaurant. That's the one thing that I can say New York take the cake is when it came to Jamaican restaurants. When it came to Jamaican restaurants, don't play with New York City. Okay, especially Brooklyn. Brooklyn represents, okay? Brooklyn. There's a few in the Bronx. There's one in Queens. Marita's in Queens. Absolutely love me some Jamaican food from Marita's. I could eat that all day, every single day. Shout out to Marita's. But yeah, like absolutely phenomenal. I love New York for the Jamaican restaurants. But when it comes to just getting food, Texas is good. And we do a lot of cooking at home, so my mom and I, so I'm not too worried about not having a Jamaican restaurant here because every single thing Jamaican that I want to eat, I can get that here. So I think that's 6, you guys. Like I said, I was winging it and I'm just going off of what I can remember at the moment. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this video when I, really write down a lot of things that I love here. I guess the next thing that I would talk about are shopping malls. I absolutely love the shopping malls here. Now the shopping malls, it could be a little crazy because a lot of times when I want to go to the mall, I think of like, days when I want to go to the mall. I think about like crowds and stuff like that. And Texas is known. These people have guns out here. Texas is known to be having mass shootings, and that's one thing that I absolutely hate. I would never want to be in a predicament or a situation where, I'm at the mall, especially if I'm with my mom and there's a mass shooter and we're just caught up in the wrong situation at the wrong time. But I love the malls here. Like the malls are absolutely amazing. There is 3 malls that are close to me. And they're just in different areas around me, but I can get to the mall from my house in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I could be at, and there's 2 different malls I could get to in 10 minutes. I could get there in 10 minutes and I'm good. In New York, I feel like a lot of times when I go to certain malls don't have certain things. I feel like here in Texas, once I go to the mall, I don't have to go anywhere else. Like any store that I'm looking for is there. The malls are big, they're clean, they're nice, and there's every single thing at the mall. Like I love the malls here. Oh, another thing that I want to point out, and this is from my experience, of course, I must reiterate that over and over again because I don't want anyone to twist my words or, put it any other way that I didn't say it. Another thing that I absolutely love about Texas is my electricity bill. I don't know what was it about living in New York with the electricity bill. The electricity bills are outrageous, okay? The electricity that I used to pay in New York make absolutely no sense when I see my electricity bill now here in Texas. My electricity bill in New York, I could easily pay $100, $150, $200. People are paying $300, $400, $500 a month, sometimes more in New York for electricity. And in Texas, for quite a few months, I was paying like $25, $30, $40 a month for electricity in Texas. Mind you, I have a washer and dryer. I'm controlling my air, which if I want to cool down my apartment, if it gets a little bit warm in the summertime and I want to cool it down, I could easily pop on my air condition, cool down my apartment, and then I'll turn it off because I don't like for my apartment to feel cold at all. I'd rather it to just be nice and cool and room temperature, but nothing too cold, nothing too chill. In the wintertime, like now, there's a couple of times where the temperature had dropped down to like the 40s, and I turned on my heat a couple of times. That took my bill up to like $70 because I ran the heat a couple of times. And then we were doing like a little bit of excessive washing because I had like family members come over in December, so I had to do a little bit more washing than normal, a little bit more just using things around the house than normal because I had visitors. But other than that, my light bill is nothing compared to what I used to pay in New York, and for the things that I now have that I didn't have. So I don't understand the logic or what was happening over there. But I feel like a lot of times people don't move to places because maybe they think about like the rate of pay that they're going to be working, like minimum wage and stuff like that. But when you really think about it, you can make twice more in another city versus the other one, but you're paying twice the amount of bills, so your lifestyle is still pretty much the same. It's no different. You're just getting a better way of living depending on your preferences. So in New York, I was paying so much in parking tickets every month. There was one time when I had parking tickets every single month. The city literally will eat at you. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, it's gonna take it right back. Parking tickets, the amount of money you pay for electricity, you going out every single month or every week or 2 times a month or whenever to go do your laundry, just all the things that you have to pay to survive in that city versus living in other cities makes no sense. This is another thing that's small and it's probably not going to be relevant to a lot of people, but it's important to me and I love the experience when I have it. So I definitely want to include it in this video, and that's banks. Like just using the ATM on a daily basis. There's a lot of people that uses the ATM daily. Like I remember when I used to live in New York, I would have to visit the ATM at least once or twice a week for like my transactions. If I need cash for anything or I need to deposit anything in the ATM. If you're a person that constantly uses the ATM, I know a lot of places and a lot of people, we're kind of slowly going into the cashless society where we won't be using cash as much. But for me and using the ATM, I like the experience that I get in Texas. For the most part, if I gotta use the ATM, I just go to a drive-through. Now, I did experience that in New York to some extent. I think there were one Chase bank, because I use Chase. There was one Chase bank that I know for a fact that has a drive-through, but I rarely ever go to that Chase bank because it wasn't like in my area. So for the most part, if you're a person that constantly have to use the bank, you always have to find a place to park, and remember there's no parking. Find a place to park and then go inside the bank, and sometimes there's like longer lines, there's longer waits. So the banking experience, I kind of like that better, even though it's something small and a lot of people don't necessarily use the bank anymore. I think everything is just so electronic now where we really don't need much cash. But for the little times that I've had to go to the ATMs, I love the experience that I have here because almost, if not all, every bank that I've been to have a drive-through, and you don't need to deal with like going inside and all that stuff. Like all that is cut out, you know, all that. So, you know, I feel like that's a good thing because we love to use like the drive-through, but it's also not a good thing because then that took people out of jobs. When we used to have all these bank tellers and we needed to go in to deal with the bank teller, that killed that job right there, which sucks. But I don't know, I like like the experience of whenever I gotta go to the ATM, I just use the drive-through. And that's the same thing too for, if not all, most fast food restaurants here. And I'm gonna say all fast food restaurants here. Like, I remember, and this is back in the days when I used to eat a lot of McDonald's. I don't eat McDonald's at all anymore. It's not something that sits well in my stomach, so I really don't go to McDonald's at all. Like, if I should go to McDonald's right now, I'm probably gonna go for maybe a chocolate chip cookie or one of their ice creams, like their cones. Other than that, or I absolutely love McDonald's fries. But on a good day, when I get some fresh fries and some fresh oil, I'm good. I've been to McDonald's a couple of times where I'm getting fries with that old grease that they had for days and I could taste it, so that's not something that I like. So I really don't use McDonald's anymore. But let's say back in the days when I used to go to McDonald's, there were two McDonald's that I used to live by in Canarsie, and the two of them are probably like 10 minutes of each other, and both of them you had to walk in. They didn't have a drive-through, so and there's quite a few other places, like Popeyes didn't have a drive-through. A lot of places just did not have drive-throughs. And nowadays, you know what I'm saying, like, we need drive-throughs. Okay, I'm a millennial, I need a drive-through. I just love the experience of having a drive-through at banks, fast food restaurants, and a lot of places where I just need to be in and out. I need a drive-through. Okay, this is another one that's very small, but I want to put it in this video anyways. It's like half and half. My church here in Texas, I absolutely love my church. Now, I did love my church as well in Brooklyn, so let me not like get it mixed up in here. Like, Shelly, love your church there and you love your church here. I absolutely love both my churches, but what I love the most about my church here in Texas is the parking. Okay, that's important. That's important. Now, my church here had its pros and its cons, just like my church in New York had its pros and its cons. But what is important to me when I go to church is that I don't feel like I'm in a hassle trying to get in the dough. Okay, that's one thing that I did not like about my church in New York, is the parking. And I visited many churches in New York and it was the same issue. The parking is always a problem, and I could not stand that at all about New York. But in Texas, you gonna get some parking space. Okay, there's parking for everybody. Now, there's pros and cons to my specific church that I go to in Texas, because you gotta get there at a certain time to get in the dough. Okay, I go to a mega church, and all the churches here that I've seen so far in Texas, for the most part, Texas carry mega churches because of how big the city is. And it doesn't matter how big the church is, it will be full. Okay, Texas people love going to church. I could tell you that much. Okay, Texas people love going to church, and as packed as the city is in New York, as packed as it is, it's very rare when you go to church and they tell you you can't get in. My church that I attended wasn't even a quarter of the size of the church that I attend now, and it doesn't matter how late I went to church, I didn't have a problem getting in. Here in Texas, you better get to church before church start, honey, because if you don't get to church as big as the church is, you ain't getting in. You ain't getting in the dough. So there's pros and cons to my churches, like I say, but I love the fact that, you know, and I visited different churches here in Texas, and every time I went there, I visited 3 different churches so far here in Texas, didn't have a problem with parking. Parking for me is important because I'm a person that drives, and when you're a person that drives, you know how annoying it could be when you go somewhere and you cannot find parking. I'm probably going to do a part 2 to this video. Let me know as well if you guys want me to do a pros and cons of living in Texas, but it all depends on your lifestyle, what would work for you, and it definitely works for me. I absolutely love living here. I could definitely see myself buying a house here, building a family here, all that jazz. I absolutely love it here. I know there's a lot of people that have been complaining about living here in Texas. I absolutely love it, and I don't have much complaints, I must say that. So that's about it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and comment down below. Tell me what videos you would like to see next. If there's anything else about Texas that you would like to know, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'd be happy to share my experience with you guys. And you guys know I cannot leave without mentioning my brand. So that's what I'm wearing on my lips today. This is my lip gloss in the shade Wine, and it's just a deep dark plummy red. And I'm also wearing my lashes in the style Brooklyn. So I couldn't leave without throwing in happiness in there in the video a little bit. But yeah, so my lashes and my lip gloss are from my brand Happiness Cosmetics. Bye guys.